So we had a farm out in south central Nebraska, about 5,000 sows. It is a DNA genetics farm, farrow to wean operation. And this producer, I mean, he's a veterinarian as well. And so he is very focused, you know, as a farrow to wean, that he wants to do everything he can for the pigs downstream. If he can keep the customer downstream happy, there will always be a demand for his pigs, and there is. So a really, really nice clean herd. It was established several years ago as PRRS naive, myco-Ohio pneumonia naive, and has stayed that way. And then in addition, this farm, at least till now, or you know, unless something has happened in the last 2 hours, it's continued to be coronavirus naive. Okay, so really, really good health. And kind of a fun one to go at when we're looking at biomarkers for inflammation. It is a flu positive farm, runs around 12% pre-weaning mortality. And that's been pretty consistent, except within the last month or so, that's probably dropped to closer to 11%. And that's just information that I had from him this morning when we were on the telephone. Then on how we tackle this is you've heard us several times of going in and bleeding 6 litters. So I want you to make sure that you understand, here's how that would go. We knew we wanted 6 litters total. We knew we wanted 2 gilt litters. We wanted 2 young sows, and we wanted 2 old sows. And we wanted, you know, hoping that we had at least 12 pigs on those, just so we get some variety. So we targeted that. And it was me and George, the manager, and it'd be like, okay, where's our pigs we're getting ready to wean next? Okay. And these would tend to be, because it was getting ready to wean next, they'd already weaned that week. So these were roughly anywhere from 18 to 19-year-old pigs, with the eventual wean weight being 21 to 22. He'd say, let's go down to room 9. So we go down to room 9. Does she meet the criteria? No. Does she meet the criteria? No. Oh, she makes the criteria. Turn the card up. So it was a very, very random. The first 6 sows that we found that fit our criteria is what we went with. It was also really important to us. There is cross fostering done on this farm within the first 24 hours. And there are nurse sow litters sometimes made, sows removed, kicked out if they're dead or not performing, and then fallout litters. But these were ones that they were intact from day one, and then they stayed that way. Okay, so not necessarily the original mom, but there is a focus on that farm to try to keep pigs on their original mothers. So from that context, you know, some of the information we see, you could certainly say, well, that's not a real random controlled trial, and that's not really what we were after. But this was a way to get a feel for the product baseline. The initial samples when we first did this started in September 2021. We went out about a week before the baseline was implemented into the feed. And this was put in at gestation and in lactation at 1 pound per ton. And then subsequent samples were taken at 23 days, 58 days. I was hoping to be out at roughly that 90-day period, that 120-day period, but stuff hit the fan. And so it ended up being, we actually did these last samples just Monday. And that's why it's kind of new stuff to me, because we just got those samples back they turned them around really, really fast. They had them by Wednesday. I think you had results by Thursday. So they really cranked it out good, really, really nicely. Thank you for that. And then along with this, you know, you say, well, what other contributors? No new diseases came in during this time. We didn't change the wean age. Really, production practices essentially stayed the same. But while we were out there, you say, well, why were you doing this? And you'll see some with the wean weights is it was just kind of an underwhelming wean weight pig. Okay, it was nothing terrible. Clients were taking them. They really push. They don't necessarily have 9 pounds in the contract, but that's really what they try to push to these customers. Again, he's trying to send them a 9-pound pig or better, you know, really push it along. And so to get that was becoming very, very difficult without saying, well, maybe we need to hold those pigs for 3 more days just so they can hit that. And we don't get in trouble for hollow pigs or anything. So lots of hollow pigs and healthy pigs in general, a little bit of strep in the farm. You know, we would have some of that. We at one point did diagnose some litters with flu, but there wasn't an overwhelming cough going on. And then we did have some episodes of clinical diarrhea, usually anywhere from 7 days to 10 days up to weaning. mostly rotavirus, sapelvirus, and we had protocols in place for all this. But really, by me going there much more often than what I normally do, just really dialed in on how are we treating these pigs? Is our vaccination timing right? Are we getting vaccinations done right? Are we handling vaccine right? So we certainly made some improvements there as well, in addition to putting in the baseline, just to validate all that. Initial biomarker levels were at 20% on the high risk category for inflammation. Secondly, the biomarker level at weaning was significantly and positively correlated with weaning weight in general. Samples taken 23 days after really didn't show us a whole lot of change. We talked about that. I guess we kind of reasoned it away, as, well, it's only been 23 days. And then the samples taken at 58 days. That was when we did that, I think, Rob, this is your calculation that you were showing before that you used for that, I'm guessing, is showing the difference in value that was in that case. Samples taken at 162 days. It looks like we returned, had lower biomarker levels again. So as I've tried to transition this in my mind, because went back and that was my conversation this morning, was there something we did and I just didn't see it, just looking for any reason that we might have created inflammation there. And I guess my going kind of thought process is this, is the body of the pig is it's an open system. Anybody that thinks it's a closed system and it's a machine, it's just not. We tend to like to think, and I did X, I got Y. And I want a nice curve that shows that. But we're an open system that has lots of different influences. Certainly, the weather in March is different than the weather that was last September, was different than when we tested them in January and November and whenever. So we have to look at that. But here's what I really think, and I just actually looked this paper up this morning, and there's a meta-analysis that was done out of the University of Glasgow. And I haven't really gone through and completely critically read it, but in the meta-analysis it sounds like in the animal world, and especially with, I'm assuming in the livestock animal world, because they're looking at performance and rapid growth, that we believe that oxidative stress is related or has some relatedness to growth. Okay, it's cellular respiration. It's a lot of cranking of ATP through a body, and with all that cellular respiration, we have a lot of waste. Okay, so there's been some kind of push and shove back and forth. This study shows this study doesn't show that, as far as is there really a correlation with growth and oxidative stress. When they did the meta-analysis, they would say two things. They would say, yes, there's a stress, that there's a constraint that oxidative stress has on continuing to grow. So if we can reduce that oxidative stress, we can go to the next level. Right? But then there's also a price of going to the next level, is then that also contributes to oxidative stress. Okay. And so I really think, it's my going kind of hypothesis as of 10 o'clock this morning, is that I think we talked about it last night even a little bit. It's almost like shifting gears in a car. I might be going 3,500 RPMs in second gear. I can't go any faster. If I do, I'm gonna blow up my engine. But then if it did the baseline or the products in it, or the change in the biomarker, did that take us up into third or fourth gear? And now I'm cruising again on 3,500 RPMs. Do my biomarkers kind of recorrect for a pig that now has the extra growth is now added to that inflammation? I'm not really sure. So I think the body's, we got cycles that go through the body. And so I think maybe the reason that we had low biomarker early is different than why we have it now. Were we constraining growth with oxidative stress before, and now are we contributing to oxidative stress as we grow? So we'll see where that all goes, but I guess that's what I have at this point. Put it this way, the producer is in no hurry to take anything out. He's really, really happy. It'd be nice if we had nice, easy correlations to what we're doing, but I guess that's where we're at, and we felt it was important.